Good morning, Ranger Dave for West Valley Rural. You ever wonder what your kids are doing on the computer for long periods of time, maybe spending a lot of time on YouTube, and you just don't want to pry? Well, I had that years ago with my daughter. She's spending a lot of time on the internet, and he just he didn't want to kind of pry until one day I got this text. Simple text: can I get a pressure cooker? Well, I had no idea what we were talking about, so I essentially screenshotted a bomb and texted back, "Is this what you intend to do with it?" Well, she texted back she was learning to can on the internet, for YouTube, and she wanted to put it into practice. Well, since then she's become quite the great canner, canning everything from meat to milk to grains and wheat. It's crazy. There are all kinds of ways to can, and well, today this video is going to be canning stock, and we're going to learn how to make stock, and we're also going to learn how to can stock. Now, there's all kinds of different ways to can and things to can, so we might have a couple videos on different things of canning, different ways to can, because each thing takes a different method, and I don't have no idea about it myself, but my daughter does and my wife does. They both do, and they're pretty good at it. Makes for a good larder. So stay tuned, let's get at it. So we're getting ready to can here, and you always have to clean out your jars, let them dry. Okay, so make sure that they're clean. And that is your stock. This has actually been sitting on the stove for approximately 3 days you have a low, very low fire. You can hardly even see it. And it pretty much what you do with your stock, you put in essentially old chicken carcasses, bones, and you add, what else do you add there, Ruby?
Water.
What, just your water?
Water and sometimes vegetables.
Sometimes a little bit vegetables. We can start to the bottom. You might see some. There you go. Some there. And it's a slow, ever so slow, boil down cook. And it starts out with essentially when you put it in there, it's clear water. And when you add everything, and it slowly boils down to a good broth, good old-fashioned broth. Now, people have gotten used to, this is the way it used to be done, and is still done. People nowadays essentially buy those ingredient packets and think they're getting away with it, and that's not exactly how it goes. Not that for health-wise, this is the best way to go. And as it boils down, just over those 3 days, you just keep on adding water. And we're going to be canning some of it, and I believe adding more water, and then canning more as it slowly cooks down. And we'll wind up with a few jars, and we'll get into the other parts of that process in a little bit. Okay, there's Ruby, and what do we have going on right now?
So we're canning stock today.
Okay, and so what have you done? You've already got the jars all prepped.
Yeah, jars are all prepped, they're all washed.
I can see you've unloaded some of that.
Yeah.
So
in our nice, handy, easily pourable bucket.
Okay, you strain that?
Yes.
So
I
you use the strainer.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you're going to be filling the jars here pretty quick.
Yes.
And then what do we do with the lids here? You boil the lids?
Yeah, so the lids have all been boiled, sterilized, and whatnot to heat up that rubber seal and
okay, so you got to heat up that rubber seal. You just can't go with a cold seal.
No, can't go with
okay,
the
and
cold
I heard
seal.
you talk about a headspace. What's that all about?
Headspace, it's just, it allows room and, whatnot to make sure, not too much of your liquid and stuff like that comes out of the jar.
So some will boil out.
Yes, yes. If you put too much in there, then some will boil out and whatnot. But you also want to fill it as much as you can. So,
right, so you don't want half jars.
Yes,
you want it as much as you can, but realize
but not too much.
Not too much, otherwise you're going to have a mess.
Yes.
And so we're going to be filling those jars here, and then we're going to be using a pressure cooker canner.
Pressure canner.
Okay, can you do this the other way? With
What,
the
with the pressure cooker?
well the big
Oh,
pan.
and water bath.
Water
Water
bath.
bath, yeah.
Water bath. Can you do these water bath, or do these have to be pressure cooked?
Stock is just meat juice essentially, so and that's too low acid to do as a water bath can it.
So it depends on certain things you can water bath can, and certain
Yes.
things definitely have to be pressure can.
yes, certain
So
things definitely have
stock.
to be pressure canned.
So
is one
stock
of those.
definitely has to be pressure
Yes.
canned. Okay. All right. We're going to get onto that. We're just going to start filling the jars. All right. So we're filling the jars, and you didn't quite have enough,
Yeah,
right?
gotta have a little bit more.
So more is coming out. And then once we get these jars in, you're just going to fill that up with water again and keep cooking that stock and make more
yes,
stock?
so this is just gonna get filled back up again.
There's the one thing about when you do this stock, it makes your house smell like chicken soup for
Essentially.
it's all for days.
Yeah.
That's one thing you kind of got to get used to, but it's not bad. It's not bad.
It
It
smells good. Smells
smells
like you're
it's a,
cooking
yeah,
something
but
good.
it makes your house smell like chicken soup all day. Then you use a little funnel, specially
Yeah,
designed
that's a
funnel.
canning funnel.
It's a canning funnel.
Yeah.
And then you make sure that you're not too high. And you do actually measure that, or you pretty much have a pretty
I
good idea?
eyeball it.
Eyeball it, and you're
Yeah.
going for
they
that.
make specific measuring tool things for it, but
Yeah, you're not that
don't have to be
not that picky. So you're looking
particular.
at to get that about an inch from the top
Yeah,
approximately.
one I accidentally overfilled a little
You
bit, so
overfilled it.
I'm just gonna take a spoon
And just
put
gonna
that all in
dip,
the other
so yeah, I
ones.
can see one's slightly overfilled there.
Yeah.
There you go. And what we use this stock for? We're using
Anything soup wise, the big thing I always use is I use stock instead of water whenever I'm making rice. So
Okay, yeah. So that's rather than
that's the
that
biggest use I
gives
would
your
say
rice
around here.
gives your rice an extra flavor there, rather than just using water on the rice.
Yeah.
Using stock on the rice, and we put this in casseroles and.
Yeah,
Oh,
casseroles.
we go through.
soups.
How many times a year do we make stock?
I probably at least like 5 or
4 or
6
5
times.
at least, 6.
And when they make big giant batches like this,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
When you
of
make it, when you got one of these going for several days, and you can do. So you're just ladling off,
Yeah.
making sure each of the jars are about the same height. And then you're gonna put. You've already sterilized the lids, and you just
Yeah.
set the lids down. Did you tighten?
So you first, especially with something that has fat in it, like these guys, you always have to take a towel and wipe the rims.
Always
with
wipe the rims
hot water,
bef-
but I always just use the hot water.
the hot
that I
water
did
from
the
where you
lids.
sterilized the.
Yeah.
So you're gonna essentially use the hot water to essentially wipe the rims because it's very greasy,
Yes, that helps
And-
get rid of the grease on the
and
top.
that so that those
You also want to do it with stuff that's sticky and whatnot too. So
Yeah.
when in doubt, wipe the rims.
when in doubt wipe the rims so that you get a good seal.
Yeah.
All right.
One of the main reasons is because you control sodium within anything that you cook.
Oh, that's Kathleen. So you're trying to control sodium as well in anything you
That's
cook.
why you make homemade.
That's
stock.
why you make homemade stock. The store-bought stocks have
Yeah,
a lot of
unless you
salt
specifically-
in.
Yeah, unless
So
you specifically
this is
buy
one-
salt.
This is one of your health reasons to go with the home stock because you got the flavor, an intense flavor, awesome flavor. It's multi-purpose, and you do not have the salt issues. Okay, so we're going to be ready to do the lids here shortly.
Yep.
Okay, so you're wiping all the lids with use the water that you boiled.
Yep.
Okay. Got to make sure that's nice and clean and what, dry?
Oh, it doesn't have to.
Doesn't have to be dry. It just has to be relatively clean of oils to make sure you have a good seal. Okay, and then
Yeah. Oil, sticky stuff, all that. Bits of the food and such. All of
anything that
can,
might have spilled on there that might create any little
Yeah, little. Spot
any
and
little
whatnot.
tiniest gaps can unseal it.
There's enough. Sometimes a little bit of stuff will be okay, but you don't want to like the whole entire lid getting filled with stuff.
Cleaner it is, the odds are
Yeah,
you
cleaner
increase.
is better
Cleaner it
odds.
is, odds are. So you're using tongs there. Why is that?
Just because the water's hot.
Water's hot still. Okay. So now are you going to tighten those?
So you want them to be fingertip tight, which
Fingertip
is
tight, so-
very subjective and
So you're not
takes some practice.
You're
to
not
learn.
cranking down on them.
Yeah, so the goal
So
is to not
fingertip
crank
tight.
down on them, but to just, I kind of do a like back and forth thing until I, find the spot that like feels.
So this is kind of one of those learned things. It takes
yes.
trial and error to
some trial and error to figure out.
what finger tight is.
Because it is very subjective. But there is a general rule of what's tight enough and what's too loose.
Yep, sometimes happens.
Yeah.
What's that good? Got to go back in the water.
Yeah. Other one may be okay. Just fill on this.
And now what?
On.
Fingertip tightened.
Yeah, and then they just all go in the canner.
Do you put anything in that canner besides that? Any
It's got-
water?
Yes, it's got water.
So you have
inside.
how much water down in there?
So your canner should have a like line, or no, that it on the inside and whatnot that tells you what the water level should be for canning.
And there are
that's-
books that kind of give you
Yeah, but the general rule of thumb is a couple inches of water.
a couple
at
inches
least.
of water at least.
Yeah,
You
so
do
there's
not
like-
want it dry, and you're just
No.
hand setting them down.
Yeah, because they're not.
They're not
too
hot, but when they come out, they're going to be
Yes.
way hot.
Yes, and you'll use like a jar grabber, is what it's called.
And how hot is this going to be, and how long is this going to take?
So they're gonna cook in here for 25 minutes, and that's after the pressure and whatnot.
After the
has
pressure
gotten
gets
to
up.
10 pounds.
So we'll go
Inside the
for
can.
10 pounds of pressure by the dial,
Yep,
and then wait 25 minutes.
yep.
Okay.
So they're all good to go in there.
Always have respect for a pressure cooker.
Yes. These guys get wicked hot.
They get wicked hot. They're very heavy, and there is a lot of pressure in there.
Yeah, actually, that waits till.
So that's your dial that you're going to be watching for 10 pounds.
Yep.
Is this going to be a high burner or low burner?
So to get it up to pressure, it's going to be, very high and whatnot. And you also want to take into consideration what temperature is of what you're putting in there. If you're starting stuff that is cold, you're going to want to bring that
Bring the
temperature,
temperature
up
up
slower.
slowly.
These guys are already hot.
They're already coming from, because they're
So-
coming from a hot pot.
Yeah, so
Going
I'm
into-
probably just going to start them off. I may start them at low for just a couple of minutes just to heat up the water that's inside there.
So
'cause the water
be
inside is
aware,
not
be
hot.
aware if something's cold, you don't want to bring it up
Yes,
very hot
'cause
fast.
otherwise you will have jars break.
Yeah, that's what creates broken jars.
Yep.
Trying to make something cold hot too fast.
So I'm gonna
Okay.
go find some matches and get this started, and
Okay,
and then within probably about an hour or so they'll be done.
about an hour. Okay,
Yeah.
about an hour we'll have these done, and we'll go from
It'll
there.
take a while for them to come out of the canner after they're
Yeah,
done.
because it's going to be very hot.
Because the pressure inside the canner's got to come all the way down before
You do not want to pop that lid while there's pressure in there.
No.
So
that's
you're
how
going to
you
be aware
explode
of what? Yeah,
things.
you're going to be aware of watch that temp. You're going to bring it up to 10 pounds, and
Mm-hmm.
then after you take the temperature off,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to wait for that poundage to go down to
all the way down.
all the way down before you lift that lid.
Yeah.
Do not do the lid before it goes to zero. Then.
Yeah, and also this has like a pressure thing or whatever. This will pop up when there's pressure in there.
And then when
So
there's
not
no
only do
pressure,
you
it'll
wait
go down.
Till it to go to zero, all the pressure has to come down for this to go.
So you're
to
gonna
where it is
you're
right
gonna
there.
watch for that to come up as the pressure comes, and then as the pressure leaves, you're gonna wait for that to go down.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll wait for about an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, pressure's building. Where are we at? Still at zero, but she's just going to be heating that up, and then we're going to wind up putting that cap on there, and that's when your pressure will start building, and Ruby just set a 10-minute timer. Hear it? See the steam? Okay, that's your famous choo-choo going there. 10 pounds. Got the stopper on. That little nubbin right there is up. So that is pressurized. It is very hot. And you do not want to mess with it. How long is this got to be?
Cooks like that for 25 minutes.
25 minutes from the time that hits that 10 pound thread. 25 minutes. So we just wait. What are we going to do?
Gonna pop it open now.
We're going to see what we did.
Remember the pressure went back to
Remember the
zero?
pressure went back to 0. You always don't see how easy that comes off. Now it's still very hot inside, so
Yeah,
you got
it's
to be
always
real careful.
always open it
Always
away from
assume,
you.
yeah, open it away from you. Assume that everything is still hot. Got the hot pads there.
Get my jar grabber. And they're popping.
And they're popping. Did you hear that pop? That's when you know they're sealing. So we have a jar grabber. You cannot grab them with your hands. It's too hot.
No, you're not eating my hand, you little pterodactyl.
This is a jar grabber. And how long are these going to sit out?
Like overnight. They'll be cool enough to like label and put away in the morning.
So did you catch that? You're just going to sit overnight, label and cool in the morning. And they're very hot, so you do not handle them with your hands at all. Probably not till tomorrow morning.
They should by tonight.
By
They'll
tonight?
be cool enough, but you know,
Now
you don't want.
Now the one thing with stock is the outside of those jars is going to be a little greasy.
Yes, so
That's the one thing that's different about stock than is different from other things we
it's
can.
any meat product.
Any meat products, like when we
or-
can meat.
or soups and stuff like that. You always gotta wash the jars.
So
really.
you will have to, these jars, that's why you want to wait till it's cooled off, because you will have to wash the
wash
outside.
them with
You would
soap
definitely
and water,
soap and water, Little Dawn, wash the outside of these jars,
and even
and then
like
you'll have
take
to
the
do
rings and stuff like that off.
and
of
then
them.
you'll have to at least do a little bit of the top there so you can actually use a pen on it.
Yeah, so the yeah, you'll have to wash top.
Ah, did you hear it? Did you hear that pop?
Yep, and the little pop.
That's when they're sealing.
Yeah. So,
So-
that means that little button is going down.
Yeah, that
It's
means the
sealing.
little button is going down, and they'll be sealing
And
themselves.
you can see they're still boiling away in there.
See, even though it's out, they're
still
still
boiling.
technically cooking.
Yep. So it'll take a while for them to cool down
So, yeah.
to handle a little bowl.
But you will, again,
temperature.
I emphasize, you will need to clean the outside of these jars. You don't
Yes.
necessarily have to do that on other canning things.
Other stuff you can get away with not doing it necessarily, but all your meats, all your soups, anything that's got even the tiniest little bit of grease or stuff that would come out and potentially be messy around the lids or the outside of the jars, you have to wash with soap and whatnot.
Okay, so by tomorrow morning, we'll be washing these
Yeah,
and then
and-
putting the labels on, and
Yep.
off they go to storage.
Yep, until they get used again.
Okay,
So,
there we go. Now, a word about storage. Once you're all done with everything, this is one of our larders. And when you store things, you tend to want to keep it in a cool, technically dark space. So all of our storage is dark cabinets. Even up top, that's usually where we put our stock. In that box up there. That's some of Ruby's famous pickled pizza garlic. And see, we can everything from milk to meat. There's just some of the jams. How you differentiate, we write what it is on the top, and there's typically a date as well. And you never stack jars on top of one another. You use some kind of, if you got to do a stacking, you use some kind of cardboard. You do not want jars standing up on top of one another because it could break that seal. But this stuff can last a good long time. Here's some juice. Yeah, we can even can juice. We freeze some of our citrus juice and we can some of it because, well, the freezer gets full. We get so much juice. That's some of our mushroom soup up there in the corner. And that is tomato soup. But yeah, so when you start to can, be aware of where you're going to be putting the stuff. Make sure you have a proper storage. And remember, it needs to be kind of cool. You know, not the hottest. Remember, your grandma kept all her preserves down in the root cellar. Well, we don't have root cellars these days, but we do have dark cabinets. Well, I hope that's been helpful, and maybe you know a little bit more about canning than you did from when we started. Now, some of you might want to know a little bit more. You know, occasionally we can regularly throughout the year. So if you're actually extra curious and want to come over and watch or participate, we occasionally do that ourselves, and there will be a number at the end if you're just interested in canning. But we'll see more about this in future videos as well. This has been Ranger Dave for West Valley Rural.